One. So Viv Williams.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on the show. You're I see you're based out of Mumbai.
Yes, based out of Mumbai right now.
Director at Winsheel. Say again.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, of course, absolutely, absolutely. I'm so happy to have you on. A director at Winsheel Films, based out of Mumbai, filmmaker. So Viv, tell me a little bit more about yourself, what you do, and what you've been up to.
Tell you what I've been doing. Yes, into films, ad films, be it corporates, travel shows, job views, features. Of course, I haven't directed a feature yet by my own. So waiting for that, pitching my scripts to people or investors or producers, how you put it. So that is going on. Otherwise, more of paid jobs right now, looking for ads and commercials and corporate films and things to move, keep things moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes without saying, we've all been pretty well impacted by this this quarantine the last 6-7 months. How would you say you've been impacted?
Very bad, I would say, especially down here. And I mean, I'm not talking just for myself. My fellow filmmakers out here are also feeling the heat now. Of course, whatever pitches are coming in or the briefs coming in, it kind of, the clients are not really wanting to shell out money. So the budgets are so low. So we need to choose whether we can do it or not.
Yeah.
And as you know, filmmaking is a money thing. So unless we have the right budget, we won't be able to proceed further. So trying to basically convince everyone is what is happening right now, especially the clients, because I can understand from their point of view also, because of these 6 months, they don't want to, open up their purses that much more. So we as filmmakers, how can we kind of do things in a constrained budget or limited budget? Because as you know, we work with a team and we all have to be paid. So, and the money is dwindling. It's kind of tough to tell people, hello, for example, a DOP or a, stylist or any of the department guys to come and do it for less money. So that has become a little tricky, but I understand people are willing to do now because of what has gone on. So I hope we can do something, and hope the clients also understand that with a small budget or extremely constrained budget, we won't be able to achieve what they would want end of the day. So trying to convince people in terms of making them understand and hello, it won't work like that. It won't work like this. That's what has been happening, especially in the last 1 month. So yeah.
Of course, yeah. Well, from my limited exposure, I guess you could say, to Indian films and TV. Of course, I always think Bollywood. And you have a lot of you have a lot of big dance scenes. You have a lot of 50 people all dancing in unison, on camera, and so. But I know there's more. I know there's way more different productions out there and way more different style of filmmaking. I guess just over here in the States, I think that's the first thing we think of. Maybe in the last 10 years, that's been like the big thing we always thought of. But that's definitely going to be limited now. That's definitely maybe not even kind of the style that they're going to have to like revision their style.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, the budgets are just shrinking.
Yeah.
So I just met a couple of producers the other day, and for my script, so one of the scripts demand a little bigger budget. So they said, "Can you do it in this budget?" like an X budget. So I said, see, the thing is, the whole point of the story, the plot, goes for a toss because there's certain, aesthetics to it, and which require money, of course. And if at all I can shrink in is with people's fees or the remuneration. Otherwise, be it equipment, location, sets, those don't come down. You know, we have to spend as much. So whether it was pandemic or no pandemic, but here we can crunch it down to requesting our people to not charge as much what they used to, and sort of bring it down a bit. But that's where it is again tricky and feels bad to go about telling people, please come and do it because there's less money. And, it's kind of like, I'm trying to balance it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get the point because
No, of course. Yeah.
yeah. So it feels bad, but then we all have to understand right now. I don't know how long it will take, but to come back to the process not stopping, we need to keep going somehow. That's what I feel right now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the process stopping. I think that I see the process kind of adjusting
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of a screwdriver, it's going to be a hammer. Instead of a huge camera rig, it's going to be an iPhone on a little gimbal, a DJI gimbal or something like that. So yeah. So have you been back on set yet?
Not yet, not yet.
No. Okay.
And fortunately, there's thing come up. There's a docu I've been pitching, so that might come by. So Monday, I have a meeting with those people. So hopefully,
Yeah,
soon.
and also, just again from the limited, exposure or just study, or just my limited knowledge of India. From what I understand, it's a very crowded. Mumbai might be a very crowded city or town, is it not?
Totally high density population.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
and
so then
20 people for the city. I mean, the population is 20 million. So you can imagine.
of Mumbai.
Yes.
Okay.
And this docu I'm trying to do is about 1.5 square mile area, wherein about 2 million people are, washed in. And you must have heard of this place called Dharavi. So it's Asia's biggest slum. And uh, like, being what it is, but what Dharavi brings out, like it's a industry within itself.
Right.
And yeah, so how the pandemic kind of, put a stop to their lives, and many of those people had to go back to their native places. So I'm trying to sort of make a docu on the downslide of the economy, in which they were like contributing towards the cities and the national exchequer. So being it's quite diverse for what it is, like being from tannery to pottery to eatery to everything they sold from them, manufactured and sold, and within that confined space. So how it has impacted them is the subject of my docu. So hopefully, I've had a couple of meetings and people have kind of liked the idea of it. Uh, so let's see how it goes.
And
Got to
this is
yeah,
something you can produce now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And of course, this is going to be from my pocket, but whatever limited resources I can, kind of bring out, will do. But I have a good team, so not an issue, at least for the production bit. Then let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Pitch it to somebody and get some resources to pay those who worked on it. That's most likely it would be, because that's the aim. Because everybody should be paid end of the day.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I think, just these times have really taught us a way to, kind of readjust. And, like I said before, for me, it's really spawned, some creative avenues, and I've started delving into, some animation and and some different software that I've never ever looked at.
Oh,
So now I got to watch, YouTube tutorials and all these YouTube videos on how to, like, catch up on
yeah,
all this software, to maybe play around with CGI stuff or animation, or
yeah.
map building of some sort, and, in like a creative universe type deal.
True, true.
And like delving into voiceover work, and like micro studio building, very small, ultra small, ultra low budget kind of studio building, to be able to do something as simple as a podcast, or
Yeah.
some very simple green screen producing and compositing and that sort of deal. So, I think it's really been a shot at a lot of people's, projects, and it's been a shot at a lot of people's creativity. But at the same time, I think with an open mind, positivity, and just feeding that creativity, a lot of people have found workarounds, hacks,
Yeah.
production.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
That kind of gives you hope, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And what's next on the agenda for Viv Williams? What's the next set of goals? You mentioned the documentary. You mentioned the film that you've been pitching, but for the next 6 months to a year, what's the next next agenda?
I would say get some more paid jobs to
Yeah.
do whatever I want to do. And there's another creative I've come out with. It's basically a social message here, uh, keeping in mind what's happening in the country. That also I'm pitching. Again, that'll be my own project. So again, shelling out from my pocket, but definitely something which I want to do. Otherwise, the agenda is plain simple: get as much paid jobs to sustain the next 6 months,
Yeah.
and cover up for the last 6 months what we've been gone minus.
What's
Yeah,
what's the indie film circuit like there, as opposed to here? Because again, I see, for the most part, like, again, I think we have a very limited exposure to Indian film and TV, and again, like I said, the first thing that comes to mind is just, Bollywood, big budgeted. What was that film with that guy's dressed all in black? He's like a cyborg, and he cloned himself, and he had like 17 M16s come out of his arms. I forget I forget,
great.
but
Yeah,
like really outlandish sci-fi
yeah,
special effects movies, or Bollywood movies. But here we also have, a lot of independent stuff. We have a lot of YouTube, and then Netflix and Hulu, and a lot of short stuff, new media stuff. And what's the independent? Is there a lot? Is there a huge market for independent films there?
there is. I wouldn't say huge market, but especially in the last 3 to 5 years, it's quite opened up
Okay.
for indie makers, and especially new directors or new producers who want to bring in their own stories and their way, the way they want to tell stories. It's not any more restricted to the way you put it, big Bollywood song and dance routine. But there are some good films coming out also. But then again, it is meeting those right minded guys who would be interested in putting the money. So how to crack that is a bigger scenario, because I've been trying for the last 1-2 years now. So it's quite difficult. People wouldn't want to put their money where there's not a big star involved, or some kind of gimmick or at least 3 songs in the film. And my scripts don't demand all those. So how I will adjust now is up to me. But yes, there are few people who've done independent films. There's a production house called Drishyam Films here. They support completely uh, different stories and newcomers and people with a different vision altogether.
Yeah.
So I have them also. They like one of the stories, but they're busy with one of the promotions of the films now. And keeping in mind now, there's no theaters, so everything is being released online here. So all that thing is happening, but hopefully, I mean, like I said before, it was not so bad, but this pandemic has pushed us especially down, especially the indie makers here, and those indie production houses also who wanted to do with you know relatively newcomers are like kind of taking a backseat and saying let's wait and watch, or probably going for a project with a bigger star with value and a bigger director and kind of things like that.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to play safe.
Yeah.
They have, spread their own safety nets. So we can't say that is wrong, but then yeah, that's where we stand. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've had to put some, restrictions on myself. Absolutely, I had to. I kind of made the decision that I would not be back on set
yeah,
until there's a vaccine. Until there's a vaccine, I don't feel safe, being on set. Except for I became a COVID compliance officer here in the States. Sets productions have to have COVID compliance officers. I'm sure you're familiar with the an assistant, the first AD, the assistant AD, who would be in charge of the set from like a technical standpoint, runs the set, the schedule, that sort of thing. And
yeah,
he or she used to be the most hated person on set, and now it's going to be the COVID compliance officer. And the compliance officer is going to be first one on set, last one off set now, and
yeah,
making sure everyone's got the masks on right, and taking temperatures, and might not let people on set, and has to, if someone's got a temperature, they got to let the producers know, and someone might have to be quarantined, someone might have to be released from set permanently from that production, all sorts of things like that. So, but still, I won't fly at all, even as a compliance officer. So if it's driving distance, I'm about 4 or 5 hours from New York. I'm about 3 hours from, I'm about an hour from Baltimore, Jersey, Philly, 2 hours away from Philly. So if there's productions there, I'll drive there to be a compliance officer, because I know I'll run the set, with an iron fist. So if I do that, I know I'm safe.
yes,
I think for the most part, everything's going to have to be, for me, virtual.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
what is. That's what I would love to ask you this. How do we go about it? When you say virtual.
Hey, listen. I'll tell you, there was just a short film. Maybe not a short film. It's about an hour. It's about an hour long, but
Okay.
it was an independent film, completely shot on Zoom. It's a horror film. It's on Shudder. There's a streaming service called Shudder. It's kind of like Netflix, but completely dedicated to horror and thrillers. But it's it's one of those seance, demonic possession type movies, haunting movies. But it's completely shot on Zoom,
Uh,
they even use the Zoom interface.
oh wow.
And and it takes place during the quarantine, so I think it's mostly all the characters I think are set in London or England somewhere, and they're having a a social happy hour, a Zoom happy hour. They're having drinks, but then they have a medium come on, and they want to do a seance on Zoom during the quarantine. And you see the whole Zoom interface, and then hauntings and demonic stuff starts happening. And I don't want to give too much away, but then there was another movie, and this was even before the quarantine. There was another movie produced called Searching, about
Yeah.
about a father whose daughter goes missing, and it's entirely done through screen records of a computer. He's checking her Facebook, he's checking her instant messages, he's checking her FaceTime, her Facebook, he's Googling things, he's map questing and Google mapping, and you know, just tracking her down through social media and through the internet. And then they do a screen record of her phone. So there's like a whole phone thing as well. And it's just about this guy, you know, trying to find his missing daughter. And it's all done through screen records. There was another one way before the quarantine called Unfriended. So I think if we can somehow figure out a way to, I mean, it's going to kind of get boring after a while, just watching nothing but Zoom movies. But at the same time, if we can think outside the box and come up with something cool to do through Zoom, you know, I mean, I think that would be unique. I think it would be pretty cool. And and to touch back on what I was saying before, the big Terminator, the big Indian Terminator movie I was talking about was Enderon.
Sorry?
Enteron.
Enteron,
yeah. So he's like an android. He's like a cyborg, a robot. Yeah. So, you know, like I was,
It's a Tamil film. It's from the south of India.
Okay.
They are big in doing all these technically big films.
Yeah.
And budget also, they are quite big. Like they made a big film called Robot, if you've seen that. So,
I think it's called Robot or Enderon or I know I'm butchering the pronunciation, but but again, you know, over here the simple-minded, you know, just when we see that, it was like, oh, it's an Indian movie and it's a huge budget, or it's an Indian movie with all the dancing and the Bollywood and so you know, I'm definitely interested in, like, you know, the independent stuff, you know, the early Tarantino's, or you know, kind of like the Blair Witches, you know, those kind of films. I don't know if you ever seen Swingers. You know, Swingers is an American film, and it's just about four guys struggling to be actors, struggling to, you know, find love, or struggling to find women in LA, and it's a very independent film. And for me, it was groundbreaking as a kid when I was in high school, and it was really inspirational. It's just a film about a bunch of dudes.
Okay.
No special.
Old film, I suppose.
96.
Yeah,
96. I think Swingers came out, and no fight scenes, no shootouts, no explosions, no CGI, no sci-fi. Just, you know, half the movie, these guys are in a car talking and you know, picking on each other, busting each other's chops, you know, talking trash, talking about girls, you know, complaining about girls, and trying to figure out the next party they're going to go to. So yeah, I'm always interested in what's the independent film market like here in Hong Kong and in Mumbai and you know, in England. You know, England has a huge
England has a huge market.
Like
we have some good indie films coming out. During the lockdown, there was a film which came, I think it released about a month ago, I suppose. It released on Prime Videos, Amazon Prime Video, called See You Soon. You can.
And I heard about this. See You Soon. Yeah. All right. See you soon. But
that was one good film. That was why I'm saying that is because it's done during the lockdown. But otherwise, if you really like indie films, mostly it comes from Malayalam films or Bengali. So they are doing good. But here in India, how they consider it, like, you know, they categorize it as regional films.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is, like, the mainstream here, the thing is there's a language barrier. In terms of so your Hindi films are more mainstream than any of the regional language films. So albeit those films are better than these, those then don't get so many eyeballs, or you know what I mean, like a Hollywood
it's kind of it's like Mandarin versus Cantonese,
Correct.
or yeah. I'm sorry,
So
but I'm sorry to interrupt. So there's more eyes on, you know, a certain region of films.
no, more eyes on your Bollywood, you know,
Right,
like
right.
yeah. So the best films are coming out from Kerala. That's a Malayalam language, and I've been watching too. So I'll text you those names if you want to, like you know, simple
Absolutely.
film, simple, very nice film, like you know. So I mean, why we cannot make like those? But here, the moment I meet a producer or investor, they put in certain demands, like you know, I want like this, I want this star, or you know, if I have to put my money, your story has to be like this, and things change completely. And for me, there's no point in talking to someone who wants to change my script. So I might as well look for someone who kind of believes in me and eventually puts in his money. That's what it is.
I agree. I agree. You know, I was a potential director and producer on a feature that this writer, you know, presented to me, and we were talking, and I didn't want to change the fact that the lead was a female FBI agent. I didn't want to change, you know, there was a dark kind of like voodoo and demon psychological thriller horror aspect to it. There's also this, you know, female empowerment aspect to it, a female FBI agent. And I didn't want to change that. There were a number of aspects I wanted to change for budgetary reasons. For example, there was a scene where it was a big flag football scene, you know, 100 extras in this, you know, kind of in the seats, and you know, American football, I think there's 10 to 15 on each side. And
Yeah.
I said, what if we made it an indoor basketball game? That's 5 on each team, and maybe only 20, you know, people in the stands. And he
Uh,
bought, and I said, listen, that doesn't change the story, doesn't
correct.
change the character development. There's, you know, it's U.S. Marines versus FBI agents. She kind of like, you know, she gets tough and like, you know, pushes this Marine, and the whole point is to show how tough she is. She doesn't take crap from nobody. I'm not taking any of that away, but I'm making this kind of setup simple so that if it's an indoor basketball game, we can shoot it at any time of the day. You would never know.
Yeah.
Less extras, less you know, basketball players, and you're
Mhm.
still going to get that dynamic between the girl. But I couldn't agree with you more. You know, we're not going to. I don't want the story changed so drastically that it's a completely different story.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
and like you're taking. I don't want, you know, you don't want the important essence
Exactly.
behind your story taken out. But if your film is shot inside, if your script originally was 10 people outside, and then you got to chop it down to 5 people inside, you still got the same story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's, you know, that's the kind of, that's just the bridge of us being able to pull off what we can pull off now.
Sure.
Even during quarantine, you know, like we can still pull off some productions if we're able to think outside the box and make sacrifices as far as production value, make sacrifices on some aspects, but still you can keep the
Yes.
same exact characters, you can keep the same
Absolutely.
exact essence, you know, the essence of the story, you know.
True.
Yeah.
So that's like you know, and we both can always like you know kind of say it and understand, but there are so many people when you sit across and you just can't put a point through, and they will not budge nor you know kind of say, okay, let's think about it. Forget doing it. At least come to the point where you know we can think about it. No, no, can we do this like this? Can we do this like this? That's where it kind of you know becomes very stiff. And I always like, I mean, I don't like to walk out of a meeting, but I have also done that. So can't
Yeah.
help it because after a point, I can't take it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Very rarely have I walked out of a meeting, but there might have been like a Zoom thing or a Skype thing, and I'm like, all right, forget it. I think we're just hitting an impasse, and there's no way.
True, true.
There's no way. You know, there's this grand vision, and you're taking away the entire vision. And I agree. We can add some cool aspects. We can take away some of the cool aspects, but there's this grand vision, and I just don't think you are getting my grand vision. So moving on. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, you mentioned Prime, and you mentioned you know, have you been binge watching? Have you been, you know, reading or studying? Have you been watching anything to escape or to, you know, kind of you know, fuel the creative juices, you know, while you've been.
As a filmmaker, I mean, you know how we are, like, you know, a little critical in terms of when we watch a film, like our filmmaking thing kind of creeps in, and I could have, yeah. So I don't watch it like that because I watch it to, you know, see things how it's been done,
Yeah.
and whether it's good or bad. That's for me. Now, be it you know, critiquing it or dissecting or bisecting it, I probably would sit with you and like, have you seen this film? Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But when I watch, I kind of open with open mind. I watch it for the pure merits of the film, and not as a filmmaker or anything, as an audience. And I like to, you know, appreciate the effort of those people involved in doing whatever they did. It could be bad. I can say it's a bad film, but then the film was made and I watched it.
Yeah.
So that's what we lack here. Here you show something and the people just jump on you and say, "Oh, it could have been done like this. It could have been done like that." Hello, first tell me whether it's good or bad, and then we can take it forward. So as you said, like I've been watching to not only, I mean, of course, want to uh, enhance my creative juices, but plain simple to, you know, kill the boredom, I would say.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
So I have a daughter who's just 4.5 years old. So she takes half the boredom from me, and half is either reading or watching something. And I don't watch, you know, like you put it, binge watching kind of a thing, because I get bored after a certain point.
Yeah.
If it's a series, I'll probably watch 2 episodes, max 3. Then I'll have to shut it, because after that I just don't know. Like, I mean, no, let me watch it later, because I want to, like, you know, sort of enjoy what I watched. Like, it all goes on in my mind. So series, in the last 15 days, I haven't touched Netflix because I got too engrossed in it.
Yeah,
So,
no, I understand. Yeah.
I watched some Korean films, like you must have seen few Korean films. So those were good. So that's what, it's a bit gore, but the way they make it is fantastic again, because it's so simply, I mean, simply put, it's plain story, but they tell it as realistically as possible. And
yeah,
so,
well, I have a question, and only because it just dawned on me. There was supposed to be an Indian remake of Rambo. Did that ever come out?
it was supposed to come out, but what happened is, before that, the same actor did another film, so which were like the Rambo elements were pulled into those films. The First Blood elements, the first movie. So you know, being hauled into the cop station to escape, and all those kind of things were, you know, brought in. So they, I think, shelved it.
They shelved it.
Yes, because already in this particular film, all those elements were there of First Blood.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I was, you know, I was trying to look it up and see, you know, what was going on with that. Because
when you asked me, sorry, I felt like laughing because I was pitching this to another person. Like, I have a friend who's an actor here, Vidyut Jamwal. He's one of the top action heroes out here. So I've known him since the day he came into Mumbai. And we're the ones who gave him the first ad, TV commercial. So he had agreed to do this. But then this other movie came out, and we said, let's not do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when I saw it, and you know, there was a lot of press about it, and you know,
Yes,
and Stallone was excited. Stallone, but yeah, for me, I mean, growing up, I mean, those were all the Stallone movies that I watched growing up, and all the Schwarzenegger movies, and so when I saw they were going to remake First Blood, and even Stallone went on Twitter saying, "I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they do with it." Totally different culture, totally different environment. I think it was modern day. Who knows what kind of war he's coming back for, what kind of war he's a combat vet from. And Stallone was like, "Hey, I'm excited to see it myself." And so just to hear him say that and be open to that, really, you know, because you got diehard fans out here like, no, it can only be Stallone. But then to hear Stallone say, because also Stallone with the Rockies, you know, he passed off the torch to Creed. I don't know if you've seen the Rockies and then the Creed movies, and he passed that torch. He passed that torch off to Adonis Creed, and I think that's, you know, incredible as a filmmaker, as a filmmaker and an artist, but as well as like a storyteller. That's very generous, but it's also honest
yes,
to it. I think generally it's honest just to creativity. It's just being honest to creativity, to a new generation, to you know, just to the development of a greater universe. You know, everyone wants to do these cinematic universes now. You know, you got the Marvel universe, DC universe, and then the Conjuring horror movies are doing this universe. And I think it's unique that Rocky was able to pull that off. But now, but now it's not like a grander universe where there's an Indian Rambo. It's like kind of a reboot within, you know, it's a separate entity. But as an artist, for Stallone to just be like, "Hey, listen, I think I can't wait to see what they do with it. It should be incredible." And I really hope it gets picked up. From what I see, it's still in development, I guess. Or
that's what they're saying. That somebody told me it's been shelved, and the mine I told you about, he's a big action star here. So even he asked me, like, "You want to still do it or not?" I said, "Already those elements are come in that film." He said, "It's okay, let's do it," because my thing is like, uh, to tell you the truth, exact remake I want to do, but adapted in India from the Indian point of view. And we've had war veterans from Kashmir. Not really war veterans, I would say. The Kashmir is a kind of, you know, contentious issue for us, and most of our army vets, you know, either they keep fighting those people, the terrorists across the border. So wanted to keep it on those lines,
yeah,
but keeping exactly in terms of what First Blood was.
yeah,
I didn't want to deviate from that at all. Like, there's a reference point already, so, you know, didn't want to kind of do something else in the name of remaking, but keeping in mind. So this guy was very interested, and but then I lost interest, and this other guy, he's planning to yet do it or not. Somebody said they've shelved it, so I don't know what happens.
hey,
Because
I really hope it gets made, because I mean, it was certainly a unique idea, and
yeah,
and I like the openness. I mean, it definitely, it says a lot for Stallone, and it definitely says a lot for India to really take on, you know, something at the time that was really dark film for its
yes,
time.
absolutely.
And of course, I mean, I'm a fan of the sequels, but the sequels kind of went off on a little bit more of an extreme and campy, maybe, if you want to say, but a little bit more ridiculousness in the Rambo sequels. But yeah, what if there was if there was one bit of advice, if there was one bit of advice or one last point you would want to make to our viewers, artists, or just anybody in general, what would that be?
I'm very bad at giving advice, but right now I would say, like, uh, anybody, especially us, the filmmaking fraternity, uh, we need to collectively come together. I mean, I know these are hard times, And filmmaking is, you know, for whatever reason, there's got to be money. So we need to figure things out. Even for my, like, for example, for my social message 1 minuter, I have approached a big actor here. He's a known actress called Sonal Sehgal. So she also thinks, you know, yes, I'm there to help you. Come, let's do this. So right now, I mean, everybody, like you said, artists, or any technician for that matter, and I'm willing to do what I can to help also. Because right now, as a guy who manages, I need to look at everybody's problems also. It's just not my problem right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so hopefully we all come together to do something and understand each other's woes, and of course, uh, the budgets and all those do matter. But advice-wise, I don't know. I will tell everybody to be a little open and not shut themselves just because there's no money, there is less money. Look at it from a different point of view, adjusting, like you put it. We need to adjust in these uncertain times and see how we can, kind of elaborate on whatever we do. It could be a small little 1 minute to a 1.5 hour feature length, or a short film, or any sort of animation film we want to do right now, because of keeping in mind, all these restrictions and how we can go about. I have a story which I spoke to my friends who are into, animation, and bounced off. Can we like do at least a pilot episode in terms of bringing it out right now? Don't ask for money. I know you're all sitting at home, but at least if you can do it, say yes, or you can say no. I mean, I'm going to approach somebody else. But yeah, because you're my friends, I've come to you first. Next step, I'll see whoever is willing to do it. So I don't know. I'm trying to bring out something or the other, just to, like, earlier you asked me what are you doing to keep your creative juices flowing. So like the total concentration of writing is gone now, I would say. I'm not able to sit in one place and do that at all.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing is like bits and pieces, and that doesn't work. And you know very well that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So how to bring that into focus is also a big ask right now. And most importantly, like I told you earlier, it's getting paid jobs right now is what I'm focusing more than anything. But if nothing comes by, I can't be sitting around. It's already been 6 months. So I'm jumping into my docu, be it, or my 1 minute social message film, be it, which I know very well pull it off, and then see how it goes in terms of whatever monetary, uh, you know, things to share with my crew team. Because if at all I can send it to a festival and things like that, if we generate eyeballs, at least we have that satisfaction. Okay, it's our film and it's gone there. Of course, we didn't make money, but yeah, after that, maybe something we might get is what we're trying to push right now. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, whether you agree or not, but it's quite a tough ask right now, I would say.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, there's days where I'm just at a blank, and I kind of have to force, if I have to force myself to do something, I'm kind of going over old stuff that's already kind of prepped, and I'm double checking that and triple checking that,
Yeah.
because at least I'm doing something, and now's the time, however, and again, we always have to remember that this is temporary. This is
Sure.
going to be temporary. All the other, vaccines, they took what, a year and a half, and then they worked. And then, the Spanish flu, and then, the regular flu, and the common cold, and measles and pox and mono and all this stuff. I mean, you know, over a course of time. And so this is just SARS and N1H1 and
Yeah, yeah.
bird flu and whatever the case. You know, now all these vaccines are in our shots, and it's a norm. And so, you know, again, this is something temporary. This is something that we're going to adapt and adjust to, but it's temporary. And
Yeah.
you know, the floodgates will open, but I get it. I get it. Just, you know, like trying to struggle to scoop up some paid work and you know, make some money. You know, unemployment. God knows what unemployment's like around the world. I know. I know. I know it was like for lack of a better term, it was kind of a disaster for a little bit here, and then things kind of got onto a smooth pace, and I think some things are shut off now. But I mean, I get it. It's you know, it was a struggle, but again, it's everything's temporary. The only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes. Everything else is temporary. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But again, now's the time to write or rewrite or just go over stuff again that you've already done. Just look at it. I always, and then, you know, like in my case, you know, I started this podcast, so it's just I think this is just natural. Like, you know, I'm able to connect with you and just chat about stuff, and, you know, somebody might find this entertaining, somebody might not. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, sorry to cut you, but I want to tell you, like, you know, this kind of lightens me. Why I just spoke to you for a few minutes now, and it kind of lightens me.
Yeah.
To tell you or talk to someone who can understand, which all this while I've been not able to do it. Otherwise, you know, other than my be it my DOP friend or another team member, like, you know, we can only talk about it. So it feels good. I mean, how we can, you know, sort of ease our minds right now to think, you know, clearly, because we need to declutter ourselves for sure to do anything good. So it was good. It is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Viv Williams, I can't thank you enough, all the way from Mumbai to over here on Zombie SquadCast, chatting it up just about an hour with me. Any last links, socials, plugs you want to put out there? Check out your work.
There are, but where do I put it on?
Oh, well, I have a bunch of links in the description, you know, your websites and your socials and all that stuff. But anything you want to tell the audience to check out?
I would like to tell them to watch this travel docu I made on Buddha's first sermon a few years ago. It's called Praram. So I would definitely like them to watch that.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, yeah, the links to that will be in the description below. And Viv, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It was awesome to talk, and you know, get more of a different perspective, a culturally different perspective. You know, what's going on, totally different country, what that market's like, and how that market is affected, and how and what's affecting that market by the area, by the culture, by the people there. And so it's a blast. Definitely educational, definitely still inspiring, like all my other guests. Yeah, so Viv Williams, director at Winsheel Films out of Mumbai, India. Can't thank you enough. To my audience, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has, and until next time, you know what to do.
Thank you.